The truth must be recognized by the black man.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he wanted me to speak for all black people. Think for the whole and speak for the whole. Here's the way I want you to think. If we have 30 million people eating a slice of bread per meal, that's 90 million slices of bread per day. 630 million slices of bread per week. 37,760,000,000 slices of bread per year. How much land must we have under wheat cultivation to give our people their daily bread? Then he said, move on to milk. How much land must we have? How many cows must we own? How much grazing land must we have to give our people a glass of milk with every meal? How many sheep must we have? And how much grazing land must we have to give our people a lamb chop? I didn't say pork chop. Lamb chops. Ain't got to rob nobody. You gotta own the means of production. Then all your businesses will spring up. How much land must we have to give our people a requirement of spinach or broccoli or carrots, cauliflower, onions, garlic, string beans? All the things that help us to feed ourselves come from the land. How much land must we have? We've got to know just what it takes to feed an entire people. That means we are independent. We've taken our stomach away from our enemies. How much clay land must we have in order to make bricks to start building houses? How much forest land must we have to cut down the trees and make wood to build homes? And we have to have land, and there is no compromising this.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
The truth must be recognized by the black man.
But the word economics comes from the Greek eikonomikos, but it has come to be defined as the science of production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services, or the material welfare of humanity. Now, a blueprint is something defined that acts as a plan, a model, or something providing guidance. An economic blueprint is exactly what we need. Doctor, you in the house? Lawyer, you in the house? Teacher, you in the house? Preacher, you in the house? Tell me something. If you don't eat well, how long will you practice law? If you don't eat well, you become the patient, doctor. So don't look down on a farmer, look up to a farmer, because today it will be us farming our own land, producing our own food that will save our lives. It hurts me to travel and see us so dependent on others for the basic necessities of life, when the richness of our land is there to produce all that we need and then some.
And we're getting ready to do a little walk. Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
The truth must be recognized by the black man.
We are an international people. Our brothers and sisters are all over the world, desirous of doing business with us. But if we are not producing anything, we can't enter into trade and commerce with the nations of the earth. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote in Message to a Black Man, quote, as a people, we must become producers and not remain consumers and employees. We must be able to extract raw materials from the earth and manufacture them into something useful for ourselves. This would create jobs in production. We must remember that without land there is no production, and the surplus of what we produce we would sell. This would help develop a field of commerce and trade as other free and independent people whose population is less than that of ours, so-called Negroes.
The truth must be recognized by the black man.
We're talking about revolution because that's the era that you're caught in. You're caught in a revolutionary era.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad outlined some basic principles. Number one, recognize the necessity for unity and group operation. Do you understand that if we can work together as a group in unity, we will be more successful, more powerful, more able to do the things that as individuals working by ourselves we have never been able to do. Pool your resources physically as well as financially. Stop wanton criticism of everything that is black owned and operated. Keep in mind that jealousy destroys from within. Observe the operations of the white man. He is successful. He makes no excuses for his failures. He works hard in a collective manner. You do the same. Now these are things that we must do. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked us to commit to save 5 cents a day. He said if we can save just 5 cents a day from our wages, 25 cents a week for 52 weeks in the year, that would mean we would put aside $13 a year that we could save in a national savings treasury. At that time that he wrote this, we numbered 22 million people and approximately 5 million were wage earners. Well, if 5 million wage earners save $13 a year, this would mean 65 million saved out of our wages in 1 year at the rate of 25 cents per week. It would be painless. Today, brothers and sisters, don't you think we can do better than what we were asked to do 48 years ago? According to government statistics, there are a little over 16 million blacks employed at some level. Well, look what happens if we raise the economic bar and contribute the same nickel a day.
The truth must be recognized by the black man.
Defending black women and black children and black babies
must be recognized by the black man.
Greetings, listeners. I begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. I bear witness that there is but one God. Welcome to the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. I am Brother David Muhammad, and I'm going to be in studio with you up to 9 o'clock this morning. And in a short while from now, I will open up the telephone lines and take your calls on 342-0081 and 466-5391. You can also send WhatsApp messages directly to me on 332-0214. And you can go to the social media pages of the Street 919 FM and follow us in studio as well. So, beloved family, another week in Trinidad and Tobago. And it's becoming more and more awkward. It's becoming more and more strange. It's becoming more and more bloody. More and more criminally creative. And whereas many things are taking place in our society on a daily basis that ordinarily would have been shocking to us as a country, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago, to see them unfolding before our eyes today is almost like a new normal. A young man commits suicide while chatting with his girlfriend on the internet. A young boy kills his own mother. And even outside of the consistent murders, you have some strange occurrences. Like this man with the dog, a vicious dog that mauled a 3-year-old, almost severed his head. And it's said that the owner of the dog had his dog roaming in the streets. Big operation to rob web source. 2 van loads. I mean, it's just so awkward, so strange. The kind of new creativity that you're seeing in criminal behavior. And again, if the projections continue, the murder rate is likely to cross its record of 550 within a minimum of 10 days from now, because we understand it's at 540, or at least it was up to the night before. At the current pace, it would be 543 killings by now. And if that pace continues, it would hit 600 by the end of the year. And our society is so... We have a certain measure of either shamefulness or shamelessness. Because there are some within our society who see that as a victory. And that, to me, is the real sickness of this country. There are some in the society who feel like the murder rate record being broken is like a lottery ticket winning number. hoping for it, so that one party could look bad and the other party look good. And vice versa when the shoe is on the other foot. Those of you who know me already know how I feel about the political situation, but now more than ever, I am convinced that if there were a solution that was instant and immediate within reach of those in authority, there are those who would not want to implement it if it does not come from their party. I am 1,000% convinced of that there are those who would want the blood to continue being shed. They will want the economy of the country to collapse. They would want social unrest. If their party looks good and the other party looks bad. I'm convinced of that, of both major political parties and even some of the smaller ones too. I am less convinced that there's a genuine, sincere desire for things to be made better. And you can hear it for yourself. You see it for yourself. And you know what was a reminder of that politically savage mentality that some of the leaders in our country have was this major news story that hit Trinidad and Tobago and the world out of Trinidad and Tobago. And the timing, Lord have mercy, it's so impeccable. Tomorrow begins the 22nd FIFA Football World Cup in Qatar. About a couple weeks back or so, Netflix released a documentary. Look at the timing. Netflix released a documentary on FIFA. And even though FIFA is a multi-million-dollar, multi-billion-dollar entity, multi-billion-dollar entity, and even though there's hardly a country on planet Earth that is not a member of FIFA. In fact, I don't know, personally, I don't know of any country on Earth that is not a member of FIFA. And even those countries that are not eligible for World Cup qualification, places like overseas territories and colonies of places in the Caribbean like Martinique and Guadeloupe and I think Montserrat and Puerto Rico and places like that, even they are members of FIFA. So FIFA is so huge, so economically enormous. It's a mega industry. Billions upon billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. And here Netflix produces a 4-part documentary series on FIFA with what appears to be at least a quarter to a third of just under 4 hours of content is centered around Jack Warner and Trinidad and Tobago. And then that documentary comes out So the world's mind is on that. Remember, the World Cup is coming up. It starts tomorrow. It's the biggest sporting event on earth, rivaled only by the Olympics. And it's starting tomorrow. Netflix releases this documentary 2 weeks before, and the major focus, or a major focus, is Trinidad and Tobago. Jack Warner. Now, let me put things in context a bit, okay? Because FIFA as an organization would have started off, okay, very small. It wasn't a profitable entity. I think it started off with just 8 nations. And the first World Cup would have just had 8 countries. It would have been won by, I think it was Uruguay. The first 4 World Cups, 1930, 1934, 1938, and then 1950. 2 were won by Italy, 2 were won by Uruguay. If I'm not mistaken, Uruguay won the first, then Italy won the next 2, and then Uruguay won the 4th one, or the other way around. But Italy and Uruguay, of course, they paused for World War II. But back then, it was a minor thing. And, you know, the Center of Excellence in Macoya is named after one of the presidents of FIFA who really started to change things a bit. And that's Iwer Havelange. He was Brazilian. Now, Iwer Havelange made a major contribution to football, where he had a vision, because the man who was in charge of FIFA before him, Mr. Ross from England, when the issue of apartheid South Africa came up, Ross was like, let them play. An all-white South African team with no black players out of Africa because of the apartheid racism. Now, Trinidad and Tobago, remember, we have quite a bit of history with the apartheid, white, racist South African cricket team. And when they came to Trinidad and Tobago in the 1980s at the Oval, there were protesters there. And let me remind you of this. I know I'll be going to quite a few different places this morning, but I want us to follow on. So in the 1980s, the apartheid, the white, all-white South African cricket team came to Trinidad and Tobago. And there were some protesters. Included in them would have been Keith Shepard, Clive Nunes, quite a few of them. Now, one name I'm going to hold back for a short while, because I was actually listening to a radio program. This would have been almost 20 years ago. Let me be specific. It would have been about 22 years ago. I'm listening to a program on Power 102 FM. And I'm identifying the radio station for all intents and purposes of this conversation. And a nighttime program, which I myself went on to host for a 10-year period, program was being hosted by David Abdullah. It had started off, the first host was Umbala Joseph, and then you had Andy Johnson, you had Verna St. Rose Graves, you had David Abdullah, and then they had called me in to host the program. And when I had began hosting, I was there for 10 years, from 2002 up to 2012, a 10-year run, Black Agenda on Power 102. But just before it became the Black Agenda, it used to be a program called The Round Table, or The Round Table Discussion. They had a different host on each night. And one night, David Abdullah was interviewing a former Minister of National Security over under Padmore. Used to be known as Bunny. He was Minister of National Security under Dr. Eric Williams. And I'll never forget this little exchange where someone called into the program and raised that issue of when the white South African cricket team came to Trinidad and they were allowed to play. Now, some countries were saying, no, we're not going to tolerate that. But they were allowed to come to Trinidad. But this caller to the station said, you know, I remember back in, I can't remember the year though, it was sometime in the 1980s. I don't think it was the 1970s. No, it couldn't have been the 1980s. Over in Padmore wasn't. It would have been the late 1970s. Because Padmore was not a Minister of National Security then. It would have been Selwyn Richardson. Right. So this caller calls in and says, I remember when the white apartheid South African cricket team came to Trinidad and a group of us came out to protest and we were beaten by the police. This is what he's saying. And then the former Minister of National Security, Mr. Padmore, he denied it. He said, no, that didn't happen. Because basically the caller was calling in to chastise Mr. Padmore as the former Minister of National Security at the time. And he said, but y'all sent police to come out and beat us, not to beat the racist people, the apartheid upholders, but us who wanted to protest against apartheid. And the Minister of National Security, Mr. Padmore, he said, no, that's not true, that didn't happen. And then the host, who was David Abdullah, he said, well, I was there. I was one of the protesters, and I was beaten by the police. And of course, embarrassing moment, but I mean, and that stuck with me. Because it wouldn't have been too far from that a Guyanese cricketer by the name of Colin Croft accepted an invitation. Now I know a lot of young people today may not know much about apartheid South Africa while Nelson Mandela was in prison. Maybe I'll revisit that soon, but I did a series of lectures on that recently at the Kwame Ture Center, and I shared some of the information, some of the schools. I spoke about it in Jamaica. I spoke about it in Guyana recently, and in London when I was there on the radio. But basically, in their divide and rule trick, what they would do is to suppress African people in South Africa. They would reach out to black celebrities in the West, and they would give them the status of honorary white. In other words, they are taking a position, we hate black people. As far as we are concerned, black people are inferior. And the black people in South Africa lived in ghettos called townships, which were oppressed by the state, were denied access to equal rights. Black people were only allowed to go into certain places, and the whole country was characterized by white privilege. Now, there are a number of FBI and CIA documents, which I published in Black Studies, my book, where in America, they were closely and diligently monitoring the relationship or the levels of consciousness of black people in America. They were looking at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Kwame Ture, the Black Panthers, Dr. Martin Luther King, anyone who was sensitive to what was happening with black people in South Africa. And they actually put in their CIA reports, Zbigniew Brzezinski, whose son later became an advisor to President Obama, and others. They had as an objective, we must ensure that there's no unity between Black America and the struggle against apartheid in South Africa. Remember, we're talking about Jack Warner and the FIFA World Cup. So while that was happening in Trinidad, around the same time, a cricketer in Guyana named Colin Croft accepted the title of honorary white. And the white South African apartheid government, they would appeal to black celebrities in the West, athletes, entertainers, singers, actors, and say, okay, you can come to South Africa, but only as an honorary white. So what they're saying basically is, okay, you can, we hate black people. But if you accept the status that you're black, yes, but you're really like a white person, we will accept you. I remember my parents talking about this when I was a child. I remember hearing about it in the media. It was a heavy issue in the 1970s and 1980s. And the black people who accepted it, many of them were ostracized from their community. And like I said, the cricketer from Guyana, Colin Croft, he accepted this honorary white status. He visited South Africa. And he was banned from the country of his birth, Guyana. When Colin Croft accepted to go to South Africa as a black man who's going to accept the status of being white, the government of Guyana, it would have been under Forbes Burnham, who they tried to demonize so much. They said, no, you could go, but you cannot come back here. And he was banned from South Africa, from Guyana, sorry. So let's go back to FIFA and the World Cup. Why is that important? Because Yao Havelange, who the Center of Excellence was named after, was the first president of FIFA who agreed to ban apartheid South Africa. And Yao Havelange had this vision, okay, the World Cup cannot just be Europe and South America. In fact, it didn't even get that far with him. But he was Brazilian. And all of the World Cups were held in either South America or Europe. South America or Europe. And to this date, all of the winners of the World Cup are either South American or European. So you have Brazil, who won 5 times. Then you have Germany. They have either 3 or 4 victories. Italy, I think, have 3. Argentina have 2 or 3. France have 2. England have 1 victory. Spain have 1 victory. Of course, Uruguay have 2 victories. And I don't think there's anyone else who won the World Cup. There would have been 22 in all. Yeah, that's just about everyone. Yeah, England, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay. That's 8 winners. I don't think anyone else won. Right. So here comes Sepp Blatter now. So Sepp Blatter was actually part of Yao Havelange's staff. And Sepp Blatter's vision was, again, to expand this. To take the World Cup out of just Europe and South America. So, of course, United States of America hosted the World Cup, right, either 1990 or 1994. was 94. And Jack Warner now begins to elevate, and Jack Warner's vision was, okay, the Caribbean has to have more of a stake in this. Africa has to have more of a stake in this. And originally, at first, CONCACAF had one position to be in the World Cup, one team only. Then it went to 2. Jack Warner expanded it to 3.5. And it was on the way to being 4 spots. That means 4 teams from our region would automatically qualify for the World Cup. And of course, 4 teams from our region have already qualified for the World Cup. In fact, most times, I think, within recent times. So they say 3.5 spaces, meaning 3 teams go directly to the World Cup on qualification. Then the 4th team, the team that finishes 4th in the playoffs, has a playoff with a team from Asia or Oceania, which would be either, well, we played against Bahrain. That was a playoff for us to qualify for the World Cup. I think last World Cup, Costa Rica were finished 4th, so they were in a playoff against New Zealand, which Costa Rica won. So Costa Rica went to the World Cup. And I think we usually win. We normally have the upper hand when it comes to that 4th place playoff. Right. So Jack Warner now has this vision of expanding football. So you see in 2002, putting aside United States of America as an exception, because they hosted the World Cup in 94. All of the others were either in Europe or South America. So with the exception of 1994 in the US, you had South Korea, who hosted the World Cup in 2002. You had South Africa, who hosted the World Cup in 2010. And now you have Qatar, who are hosting the World Cup starting tomorrow. And on each of these occasions, there was mass opposition against them hosting it. But let me tell you where the onslaught against Jack Warner is coming from. Because you may not recall, we're in 2022 now. Do you remember when this announcement was made? Remember, it takes years to properly prepare to host a World Cup. And countries are invited to put in a bid. This, in the history of world football, has been the longest period between an announcement and the kickoff of the actual tournament. This announcement was made 12 years ago. Think back. 2010. 12 years ago, it was announced that the 2018 World Cup would be in Russia and the 2022 World Cup would be in Qatar. I want you to think back of how America and England were campaigning to host those 2 years, 2018 and 2022. I want you to think back. Remember when David Beckham came to Trinidad? In fact, not just that, the England national football team agreed to play against Trinidad. I was the manager of the Trinidad and Tobago national football team at the time. And I still to this day remain the longest serving manager of the Soca Warriors. I was the manager in 2008 when the England team came to Trinidad. And David Beckham came back. And he went all up in East Port of Spain, all up in Laventille, training with the children. They had him working hard. The English Football Association. Remember, they gave gifts. Wined and dined and courted Jack Warner. The American Football Association, same thing. President Barack Obama did a video with a football in his hand saying we're looking forward to hosting the World Cup. President Obama sat down with Jack Warner in his office. And the American Football Association, the English Football Association, invested millions not to host, just to campaign. Because the culture of FIFA has always been, from the beginning, their culture has always been to give gifts, to give jewelry, to give cars, to give millions of dollars. But it's all gifts and is done in such a way that it's considered to be above board within their internal culture. They're like a country unto themselves. They're like a law unto themselves. That's how they roll. That's how they operate. But what you need to understand is that there are crimes, white-collar crimes, that go unnoticed, over the radar, that white people could get away with, that Europeans could get away with, that black people will not get away with. They courted Jack Warner. They wined and dined Jack Warner. He was their darling. They loved him. And then that fateful day came in 2010. If I remember correctly, it would have been around the time of the 2010 World Cup over there. Might have been just before. On that fateful day, I remember everyone glued to their TV for the announcement. Everyone was expecting to hear either World Cup 2018 hosted by England, World Cup 2022 hosted by the United States of America, or vice versa. World Cup 2018 hosted by the United States of America, and World Cup 2022 hosted by England. Now, we were looking at the news. I want you to think back, for those of you who remember. So we're all looking at this live on TV. Everyone expecting to hear England and America, or America and England. Then Sepp Blatter goes up to the microphone. He says, and the host of the 2018 World Cup will be. Then he unfolds the envelope, takes out the card, shows it to the camera, and he says, Russia. People in shock. Huh? Now, the first thing that would have went into people's minds after the because remember, they're announcing two countries at the same time. That was something that they never did before either. They always announced one country at a time. So when Sepp Blatter announces that the 2018 World Cup will be held in Russia, everyone is thinking, but wait a minute. That means only one of the two expected countries could host the World Cup in 2022, either America or England. Is it Russia? Where did that come from? That's so strange. Russia? So America and England thinking, wait a minute, one of us are going to be left out here. And then Sepp Blatter says, and for the 2022 World Cup, the host is, and he unfolds the envelope, takes out the card, shows it to the camera, and says, Qatar. And the world said, what? Now, if you look at the Netflix documentary, because there's certain footage that was happening in there that I never saw before, Bill Clinton was there. And they showed Bill Clinton whispering in the ear of a gentleman who I've met on a couple of occasions, the president of United States Soccer Federation, Sunil Gulati. So Bill Clinton is whispering in his ear. They show the English delegation looking shocked. The Americans confused. So what? But everyone was expecting America and England to host 2018 and 2022. And they see Russia. You already know how they feel about Russia. And then Qatar, this tiny Muslim country. That was in 2010. They immediately, with their grudge, with their anger, with their spite, and with their lust and thirst for revenge after, in their eyes, from their point of view, all of their whining and dining with Jack Warner. And here now, they're feeling betrayed. But in so many interviews with Jack Warner and even Sepp Blatter, I'm not a fan of his. But the fact is, they declared, particularly Jack Warner, in multiple interviews, our vision is to expand the World Cup out of just America or South America and Europe. Take it to Africa. Take it to Asia. Take it to the Middle East. Let other countries get the opportunity to host it, and also expand the number of spaces for countries and places like Africa, the Caribbean, CONCACAF, Asia. The man has always said that was his vision. If you want to come to Trinidad and bring the whole England team and our brother Barack Obama getting involved in the campaigning and David Beckham and all this star power, all these celebrities, fine, you're free to campaign. But there are a whole lot of dynamics with this case with Jack Warner. But it boils down to one thing. One thing and one thing only. And that is the investigators, who are basically the government of the United States of America, the CIA. Their position is that a crime was committed by Mr. Warner in Trinidad and Tobago. But as far as Trinidad and Tobago, no crime was committed here. And as much as they hate Jack Warner, as much as politically they've tried to destroy that man, they've spent millions of dollars that they could have used to fix roads and provide water and electricity and infrastructure for the country, to improve the educational system, to improve national security, to improve the healthcare system. Millions of dollars that could have been used for those constructive purposes, they used to try to destroy Jack Warner. So sick, so shameful, so embarrassing. But the bottom line is, the American government is saying Jack Warner committed a crime in Trinidad, but in Trinidad, there's no prosecution against him. There's no crime committed here. There's no acknowledgement of any wrongdoing. It's all spite against him for those two bids of the World Cup in Qatar and Russia. And if you really examine it, football today has just about crashed. I could have shed tears from looking at TV over the last couple of weeks and the football news coming out of Trinidad. It's only school football. Or they showed a bank cup the other day. RBC versus Republic Bank versus First Citizens Bank versus Scotia Bank. That's a fat match league. Brilliant players, yes. We have so many talented and skillful players. But they work in 9 to 5 in an office or in a bank and playing football in the evening. And that's the football news of Trinidad and Tobago. When we used to have a vibrant pro league, professional football league. And then to see this man announce, oh, professional football is going to start back next year, September. That's a disgrace. Football, more so than any other sporting activity, keeps young men out of trouble, off the street, doing something constructive, being part of a team, part of a league with a long-term objective to train and develop and learn teamwork, cooperation, discipline. And we have no professional football league in this country. Gosh, going back to those days when Jack Warner was running Joe Public and you had W Connection and all these teams. You had local players earning a salary of as much as $20,000 a month. $10,000, $15,000 a month, $17,000 a month. We have to continue this.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the Street 919 FM. 91.9 is counting down 91 days of Christmas. Yes, 91 days of Christmas. It's karaoke, prizes to be won, giveaways. It's the 91 days of Christmas on the Street 919 FM.
I could sing a good serenade. Oh, it's Christmas.
Want to furnish your home in style? Stylus Furniture makes this possible. Shop using our affordable layaway options to purchase any of our modern sectionals, dining, living room, or bedroom sets, and receive a dinner voucher for 2 at Ateliers Restaurant and Lounge. For further information, contact us at 652-2542, 652-2688, and 790-1202. You can also visit any of our branches located at 101 Crackness Village, Princestown, and 51 Rushwood Street in San Fernando. Stylus Furniture, for the style in you.
Music on ya. Keep your acting with your daughter. Music on ya. Maximum sound. Keep your acting with your daughter. This is the reggae music from Jamaica. Jonah, Bob Marley and Wheeler. Rocksteady. To the drum and bass, yeah. Hold your waistline in the place, yeah. I see thugs with slugs, marijuana. Hey, I will King Susie Thailander. The sound sing up a play upon the corner.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning on the Street 919 FM radio. Here my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life.
The steel pan, the only musical instrument invented in the 20th century, is a reflection of the perseverance and innovativeness of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, which have always been central to our development as a nation. And the steel pan story epitomizes this, carved out of life and struggle and determination, rising out of the spirit of the African drum. The steel pan stands today as evidence of innovativeness, creativity, and passion for life integral to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Kwesi Paul. Join me each and every Sunday from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight on the Street 91.9 FM.
Looking for a safe and relaxed professional massage therapist and nutritionist? Look no further. Nature's Touch with Empress Judy and Associates offers a natural approach to better health. Treat yourself to a professional massage therapy and nutrition advice in a safe and relaxed atmosphere. Rejuvenate your body, mind, and soul at Nature's Touch Therapy. For an appointment, please call or WhatsApp 1-868-398-8282 or visit our Facebook page. Remember, your health is our responsibility at Nature's Touch.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
So there's a need for brotherhood.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen. Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
Brotherhood is demanded.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential, it is urgent, and it is compulsory. But the time demands brotherhood. Whenever the dominant white society fears for its economic future, racial tensions are always aggravated. The aim of Almighty God is to bring the black man and woman together. The aim of Almighty God is that we, no matter how divided we have been in the past, must experience unity in order to gain the success that we seek and the progress that we desire. There is no way that a divided people can build a future. Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. So there's a need for brotherhood. But if you walk the earth proud and arrogant, you never learn your lesson because you think you already know. And how in the hell could you know and be in the shape that we're in? How can there be any brotherhood if there's not even the honoring of a word?
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen. Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen. Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
But the Quran and the Bible bear witness that the heavens and the earth were created with truth.
Black man stand up, black man you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential. It is urgent and it is compulsory.
Welcome back and welcome to the second hour of the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. I am David Muhammad and we're going up to 9 o'clock. In a short while from now, we're going to open up the lines to take your calls on 342-0081 and 466-5391. Remember, November in Trinidad and Tobago is Black History Month, and we have been going through a range of activities as we do every month for November. We're going around to different schools. We had a fantastic session at the Malik Secondary School this week. Also Princess Town East. Next week I'm doing schools in Tobago. We're going to Signal Hill. We're going to UWI Open Campus. We're going to Bishop's High School. We're going to Scarborough Secondary, to come back to Trinidad to do a number of other schools. Also, we're welcoming students into the Kwame Ture Center for a presentation that I do for school students there. So, November, African History Month, and we're going to have a special presentation next week, Sunday. Okay? Next week, Sunday, 11 o'clock in the morning at the Kwame Ture Center to close off Black History Month as we enter into December, the month of Kwanzaa and the 7 principles. Of course, this morning we continue with our Boys Academy sessions. Just 2 more sessions for the year. Today, 10 o'clock this morning, where we have a powerful motivational session. Listen, wasn't last week. Last week we had a guest about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. We went through 7 habits of highly effective people. Stephen Covey, step by step. It was incredible. This morning we're continuing on with some of those, some of that literature where we've extracted those ideas. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. Richest Man in Babylon. That kind of literature, with pulling out key ideas and sharing it with the youth, and they are so, the feedback is incredible. The feedback from those young men is incredible. So all of our young men are invited, 17 years and under. It's really from 5 years to 17 years. And so we have another great session this morning, 10 o'clock. And then next week, Saturday, is the last Boys Academy session for the year. Then we're resuming, of course, in January 2023, inshallah. But next Saturday, we have a special session called Knowledge is Power for our young men. And then we're having a special lunch after. So at the end of each cycle, that would be session number 20. 20 empowerment sessions with our young men. This morning will be number 19. Next week will be number 20. So for number 20, we are doing, we're having a special lunch for the boys as well. And again, all of our young people are invited, our young brothers, 17 and under. I'm also doing a youth rally in Tobago, the Roxborough Youth Facility, the Police Youth Facility, on behalf of the TTPS, as I've been partnering with the TTPS in some projects recently. And so looking forward to that as well. So much happening. I'm about to open up the lines, but I just want to finish off on this point, right? The government of the United States of America, and you think about it, the government of America hosts a press conference. The Attorney General, who was our beloved sister, Loretta Lynch at the time, the Attorney General of the United States of America's government, hosts a press conference about Jack Warner in Trinidad, alleging that he committed a crime in Trinidad that is not even considered a crime in Trinidad. How does that, how do you rationalize that? Now again, forget all the fancy terms, all the legal jargon and all the technicalities. It's like, to me, imagine, okay, so let's go back 10 years. Smoking marijuana was not illegal in Holland, but it was illegal in England. Imagine a man smokes marijuana in Holland, and the government of England extradite him to England as a criminal because it's a criminal offense in England, but not in Holland where he did it. That is how the scenario is. And again, I am saying it's pure spite. It's pure revenge. You saw it on their faces when the announcement was made 12 years ago. And I want you to look at who gets away. How come Sepp Blatter was not prosecuted? He was banned for, I think it was 8 years. Wasn't arrested, didn't go to jail. And he's the boss. How come Michel Platini, who they actually caught in serious improprieties? Me as a child, I used to admire Michel Platini as a footballer. He became the president of UEFA and was the next president of FIFA. They caught him in serious wrongdoing. They banned him for 8 years. Never put him in handcuffs, never took him to jail. Chuck Blazer, who I would have exchanged emails with in the past in my capacity with the team. Chuck Blazer, white American, who was the most crooked of all of them. The most crooked by far of all of them. They get Chuck Blazer to turn state witness to try to capture Jack Warner. Now, Chuck Blazer passed away, I think in 2017 or so. Wait. Shouldn't it be the other way around? You are in America. Chuck Blazer is an American. He's guilty beyond any reasonable shadow of a doubt. Shouldn't maybe you be contacting Jack Warner as a state witness or as a witness to prosecute Chuck Blazer, seeing he's American and y'all are American too? But no, they let the American in their country get away with his crimes to prosecute a foreigner who is accused of giving bribes in Trinidad. And even though it's common knowledge, it's known what happened in Trinidad. Again, gifts. That is the culture of FIFA. You could go back and trace every single World Cup that was hosted anywhere. Let's go back. So, 2006, when Trinidad and Tobago played, Germany. 2002, South Korea. 1998, France. 1994, USA. 1990, Italy. 1986, Spain. 1982, where was that? I think it was Mexico. 1978, Argentina. 1974, Germany. 1970, Mexico. That's when they invented the red card, because they were just kicking down Pelé, couldn't handle him. And the black man, Eusebio from Portugal. 1966, England. 1962, go back to all of them. If you trace those histories and look on the inside of how those bids and that process and that campaigning unfolded, they give gifts, they give incentives, they give inducements. Jack Warner here was encouraging CONCACAF, and one of the reasons they say Jack Warner is so powerful in FIFA is because he controlled so many of the votes. Because you have, I think it's about 25 members of CONCACAF, while UEFA well, UEFA has a lot, but South America, for example, only has 10. Jack Warner has 25 votes. And he's encouraging the heads of football associations in the Caribbean support the black man. Mohammed bin Haman. Support him for FIFA president. And he sent some gifts. And as the story goes, again, I wasn't there, but as the story goes, he had some silver platelets, very expensive for all of the members of CONCACAF, CONCACAF, and the Caribbean Football Union. But he couldn't bring the silver, so he gave the cash instead. It was $40,000 US, allegedly, in these envelopes and so on. Can I say that's right? I cannot. Can I say that is how it's done all over? Yes, I can. That's how FIFA do it. So how come when the black man from Trinidad, who has more power than they want him to have, is accused of doing the same thing that Michel Platini did, that Sepp Blatter did, that Chuck Blazer did, all of the whites who got away? You get in a foreign government. And I just hope that this extradition issue doesn't go through, because another key point that was made, a list of countries were given that refused to extradite their citizens from all over the world. Issues with America, okay, a country can take the self-respecting stance and say, okay, we understand your issue, we are not extraditing our citizen. Do you remember the Dudas Coke issue in Jamaica? June 2010. The government of America wanted to extradite drug dealer Dudas Coke. And the government of Jamaica refused to send him. He ended up going. But you know what the main difference was there? Dudas Coke was guilty or charged or accused of committing crimes in America. The American government wanted him because of what he did in America. This is a matter that took place in Trinidad. But I say all of that to say, man, you know, because they're smart, they watch us, they observe us. They probably say to themselves, you know, you see that place called Trinidad? See that little island in the Caribbean Sea there called Trinidad? As much as Jack Warner has done, and I will say hands down, in my opinion, Jack Warner has done more as a parliamentarian than probably any other member of parliament that we've ever had. But that American government, that FBI, that CIA, they're probably observing and saying, see that country, Trinidad? The Africans there, they hate their own people. Look at how much campaigning, ads on television, radio, newspapers that they paid to try to bring down their own brother who helped push that football industry in their country. Look at how they treated him. You're probably looking at how we treated Mr. Manning as well. And say, you know what? Those people, they hate their own kind. They hate their own kind. So let's go after Jack Warner. His own kind will probably give him up. That's probably their observation. And all the others getting away scot-free. And they're focusing on Jack Warner. Well, the World Cup kicks off tomorrow. And all these demons, hypocrites, talking about boycott the World Cup. Why? Because a Muslim country doesn't want to compromise their principles and sell alcohol all in the stadium. And to me, they did compromise their principles because they said, yes, they will allow people to consume alcohol in the country, but just not in the stadium. There's some place called a fan zone where you could go and buy a liquor. And people in Europe said, well, we can't look at football unless we drink it. You're sick. You have bigger problems than that then. If you can't look at football without drinking alcohol, you need to see some other kind of professional help. And then, and thing is, the alcohol issue, that's new. The alcohol issue only came up this week. All the time it was because the government of Qatar said, listen, you cannot display any public affection, any public homosexuality in their country. Because homosexuality is against the law in Qatar and in all Muslim countries generally. Now, the funny thing is, it's the same public affection or public displays of heterosexuality that are also outlawed. Europe, they're only focusing on, two men cannot hug and kiss and make love in public. Two men can't, but a man and a woman can't do that in public either. So why are you so worried about whether two men can kiss in public? And looking to boycott the World Cup because of that? And because you can't buy alcohol in the stadium? Then you need to forget football and go and be considered about something else. So homosexuality is against the law in all those Muslim countries. Guess what? Guess what? The act of sodomy is still also illegal in, I think I'm right to say, most countries in the world outside of Europe and America. Most countries in the world, including Trinidad and Tobago. That's right. So while those hypocrites calling on the world to boycott the World Cup in Qatar because you cannot be a homosexual in public, all those same countries, many of those same countries, still have that act banned, including Trinidad and Tobago. Man. All right, so let's open up the phone lines. 3420081 and 4665391. Caller, good morning. All right, sorry, go ahead, start over.
Okay. A pleasant morning to you, Dr. Muhammad.
Good morning.
The Nation of Islam, the Black Agenda, and to the entire Islamic community throughout the world, and to Farrakhan, our brother, to all the diaspora. Dr. Muhammad, before I start off, as customary, more than ever this morning, Black History Month, take a bow. I'll tell you why. I see and I smell high treason and espionage. But let me go there quickly. Why it is America is not a member of the International Criminal Court in The Hague? Anybody need to be tried in the world is America and Europe, more so England. You see, I always coin this phrase, you know. Europe is America, and America is Europe. Look, you would have touched on all the subject matter, so I just touched quickly for time to give somebody else a chance. You see, when you talk in terms of the hidden hand, and I train the mix, conspiracy, and the word atrocity, it fits America and England. But hey, you're going real good, doctor. Where this Supreme Court, the final appellate court, the Privy Council, doctor, help me. Is it not in London?
The Privy Council, yes.
So let's marry the two together. So if they wanted to keep the World Cup in England and America, it is clear to all and sundry mass conspiracy. But let me add something. Monday, the United States of America with its Vice President Kamala Harris. She would have allowed the ambassador for Trinidad to take the oath. Now, you see, if you follow the chain of command, as you rightfully say, come Sunday is the launch of the Football World Cup. And they're tying everything together. But I'll tell you what really destroying me and hurting me is to go on Facebook, TikTok, and good morning, Sister Aisha Welsh. You did a good program Thursday afternoon. But you know what was disturbing, Doctor? While I was speaking to Aisha, and after I came out, I was reviewing the comment on this very said Facebook page. I was ashamed to see African people, well-known names which I will not call. They were being define Jack Warner because of their politics. And that is what it does. As a matter of fact, mainstream callers was attacking me for supporting the Honorable Jack Warner. You see, they're not seeing what I'm seeing. And this is why you are correct to say what you just said. When America watched from outside and they're witnessing as a people how we are disunited, you are correct. Let's get Uncle Jack. And Dr. Mohammed, it is so sad. But as I take my leave, politicians in all corners in Trinidad this morning is smiling. But I want to ask the Attorney General and the government of the day. Since America put out all bulletins and said, go come here, terrorist, murder, kidnapping, and mayhem. Is it true to say, Mr. Attorney General, you want to look good by the American government? And you're saying so quickly you're going to extradite the process to get him out. Hey, give me a break, Mr. Attorney General. You see conspiracy and high espionage. And anyhow we look at it, I am saying you can't be half pregnant and you can't sing from the both sides of your mouth. And I'm, doctor. And that is what we call mass conspiracy. Doctor, before I take my leave, 25 years ago, I remember that student following you. You tell us the hidden hands, conspiracy, atrocities, and those words, why I would continue to repeat it. It speaks of the dirty, stinking, harlot country of America and England and Europe. And anything that is black and shining, and this is how I close. Anything that is black and shining and brilliant, Europe and America would say, no, you cannot have your way. And this is why I take my leave in the Honorable Mr. Jack Austin Warner is innocent. He is not guilty. America and England that bring from the harlot cup didn't have their way to host that football World Cup. And as a result of that, everything that is happening with Mr. Jack Austin Warner is mass conspiracy.
Yep.
But I make a clarion call, especially to African people who call your programs and who text in on Facebook and YouTube. Stop it. Stop it. You cannot use politics to destroy your African brother. But still, everything is black. They want to.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your call. Caller, good morning.
Yeah, morning, Brother David.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What? Yeah, Brother David. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Go ahead.
Brother David, I called during the week with this immigration situation with my document. Brother David, I don't know what the immigration wants from me, and I said if I talk to Mr. Hines, I go to Mr. Hines over. He was my lawyer when I won my case. And up to today, It's always some mishap. They can't find a file. They ask me not to come in for them, Brother David. They will contact me when they're ready for me. So I sit down and I wait. So I decide, say, I will have 1 month and a half to go, and I take my family on a vacation to Europe, right? So I decided to carry my daughter in and just see about her passport. You know, when I went in, this was my daughter's passport. They asked me for my ID, so I give them a driver's permit and my passport. They seized my passport.
They seized your passport?
To come to see them. Yes, told me that I failed to come and see them. So I showed the lady the email on my phone where you guys write me and told me not to come because I came to the compound 2 times to find out what's going on. They told me, Mr. Arrow, we will contact you. They give me an email. I just email them. I email them just September again. I send all the information they want. They send them to me they want ID, the last stamp, the last everything. I send it and give it to them. They send back an email due because of the COVID. That's why they didn't get to deal with me. But they will contact as soon as they get space for me to come in. I show the lady the information. She still sees the passport. I go along with her because she wants to calm me down, you know. But it's Monday when I go down there, Brother David, it's going to be history, you know. Somebody would have to lock me up, you know. Because nobody's not going to hold on for my passport. I get the last one they hold on for my passport in 5 years. And this, my grandmother funeral, my mother funeral, my father funeral. I'm a twin brother funeral, my miss. Because the passport was locked up with them. And when I applied for go to funeral, they told me because I have a case in front of them, I cannot leave the country to go to my old mother funeral. I said, this time, David, when I go by them Monday, trust me, they call the army for me. Because I'm leaving my passport there.
All right, thanks. I hope that situation gets sorted out. Sounds like a very personal one, but I really do hope that gets sorted out. Yes, walaikum salam.
Brother David, taking in because since I was...
I'm not hearing you very, very clearly. Go ahead.
You hear me now? You hear me now?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Since I was a young toddler growing up playing football, all this about the corruption of FIFA.
Yep.
What Mr. Jack Warner did that was never done in FIFA before. You know the Europeans never wanted the FIFA presidency out of Europe. When Havelange went up for the presidency...
Of course, it was a big thing.
It was a big thing because the president was, I think, was an Englishman.
Yeah, Ross. And he wanted apartheid South Africa to play in the World Cup. Havelange said no. He said once they're practicing racism over there, discriminating against black people, they cannot be accepted in the World Cup. No,
they cannot be accepted. When Havelange became president, South Africa wanted to send one white team, one World Cup, and send our next African team in next World Cup. They didn't want to pass that. Right? The history of FIFA always had gifts given, brown paper bag, passing money. When Havelange won the presidency, nothing wasn't different. The people who get to vote from the African continent, gifts was given. This is something that always happening in FIFA, especially when coming to the presidency or to host World Cup. All countries that involved.
Exactly. Go back to the 1930s, it was like that.
Oh God, it's obvious. As long as you want to host the World Cup, it always has gifts and money passing.
And flying people here and there. Look at how they wined and dined Nelson Mandela as well. Remember that?
Okay, and you feel America and England didn't spend millions of dollars, but we'll go on. The executive of FIFA realized it, but you go get Qatar and you go get Russia, hard luck, Platini, all of them. Sadbata wasn't aware what was going on with that bid.
Yeah.
Until after. He wasn't aware. Because he wanted America to get, and he didn't know Platini. He went in a meeting with the president of France and them big boys from in Qatar.
And listen, imagine the current president, right? Infantino. He was the general secretary of UEFA under Michel Platini. He told Platini, who has been basically Platini did the same thing that they're accusing Jack Warner of, right?
Yeah.
This current president of FIFA told Platini, I will hold this spot for you
until you come back.
Yeah, and when your time is up, you can come back and be president. Now, it's unlikely that will happen. But when Platini was first prosecuted, which he never went to jail, never was handcuffed or anything, but the current FIFA president, who came to Trinidad as well, under David John Williams, he said when Platini's 8 years, I guess you could call it 8 years of being in football jail, when that time is up, Infantino is saying he will step aside and let Platini become the president of FIFA.
Yeah. Mr. Brother David, I lost the train of thought. You see what going after that bidding for Qatar and then when Platini went to the meeting with the president of France and the big boys and then from Qatar. You realize what's going in France after in French football? Qatar for the hierarchy in Qatar controlling French football.
Yeah. Qatar Airways sponsorship.
The president called it over in years. He have a big position in UEFA and in UEFA football.
Yep.
The president, the man who run Paris Saint-Germain. The corruption is at the highest.
And look at the players. Look at the players they have now. They have Messi, they have Neymar, and they have Mbappe. Three of the top players to look out for in the World Cup.
Them breaking all fair play and don't get punished. Them are Manchester City because it's Qatar owners owning them. But just saying, the football is FIFA is corruption, is all this gift and this giving and that giving.
Yeah, but some get away with it. You see, they never felt comfortable with the amount of power that Jack Warner had.
Look at
the people that he brought to Trinidad. If you think about it over there, Nelson Mandela, Sepp Blatter, Yao Haviland, Dr. Martin Luther King's son, Jesse Jackson.
You are the first vice president. They cannot handle that, you know.
Yeah.
He had that kind of power.
This black man has power.
Had.
Sitting down with Obama, Bill Clinton. They said, nah.
They say you get 10 million from Saddam to get voters for South Africa to host the World Cup. He gave this nasty man we call
Chuck Blazer. Chuck Blazer is a criminal. According to the United States, Chuck Blazer is a criminal and a citizen of the United States of America. Jack Warner is not a citizen of America. He's a Trinidadian. But they freed Chuck Blazer to turn state witness against Jack Warner, who's not a citizen.
Brother David, when they check Chuck Blazer files, they tell me, they say, hey, it can't nothing here, nothing to talk about, you know. Is either you sing or you go on 25 years. Because he record worse than Jack. When they check, he record worse than Jack. They say, but here, if they have no negotiation, they give him a thing, a teaching them to put it on when you talk to somebody, say he can't do that. They say, hey, they have not what you cannot do, it's what you have to do.
Exactly. It's when you do it.
What you have to, not what you cannot do, it's what you have to do. So when you come along and Jack, because as again you say, that it's African man, that power. When you decide to support Ben Hamad, and the talk about money passing and bringing envelope and kind of thing, when such better, the cell have a lunch, here going on. This is it for you. Don't go and run again. Avalanche decided to pull in the corner. The same thing Ben Hamad, he promised Ben Hamad, hey, this will be my last term thing. He decided to run again. So Ben Hamad decided, hey, you see that boy? I ride with you all these years. Ben Hamad was said battle right hand. He said, I ride with you all, I support you. And look, you going against the other, well, all right, I go run.
Yeah. It's the exact same scenario. You're 1,000% correct. Because Sepp Blatter's relationship with Haviland was similar to Ben Haman's relationship with Sepp Blatter.
When you until decide to run against Sepp Blatter for the presidency, at the time you were the president of UEFA, the same thing that Ben Hamad, they say, come and give money and bring the same thing Sepp Blatter did to beat Johansson. Johansson don't realize he can't win here, so the second round of voting, you can say, hey, it makes sense, that is it, he consider. The same thing Ben Hamad do, he get money.
But one is black, one is black, the other is white.
One is white. So you see that? And Ben Hamad done black already too. So you understand me? It didn't stand a chance. But again, as I tell a man on social media, all he talk, he say, but we are against corruption, but now we supporting this. We're not supporting corruption, you know. We let it be fair across the board. Give it everybody fair across the board. Don't tell me we supporting. Give it everybody because England and America passed the corrupted money to win the bid and they didn't get it.
Of course.
Because
that's why they're angry.
If they say, all right, let me get America and England, they say, well, I've never heard nothing about it. That's how it's corrupt.
Because, listen, the Attorney General of the United States, they went to work immediately. From the time that decision was announced and they showed Bill Clinton whispering in the ear of Sunil Gulati.
And the president of the American Football Association, they must change their head so no, they want to know what went on here, how that happened. All the money them spend, all with the doing the bid, all the millions they spend. England national team come down here, David Beckham come down here, this one, the Prince come down here, all that, and still them get that bid. Nah, they say nah, but people have to fall. If they them decide to attack FIFA and them knowing FIFA corrupted for years, you can't touch FIFA. As Mr. Jack Warner said, I don't know land, I don't know money in America because my money part all this system. That you need opportunity, all you have now to come at me. So have a lot of them Sadbata the money to pass to America too. Inshallah, I'll continue to see your program.
Yes,
good
sir.
program.
Yes, sir. Alhamdulillah. Thanks a lot. All right, walaikum salam. Oh man, it's deep. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning to you.
It is clear, very, very clear. America's slip is showing now in so many ways. They're so blatant with their advantage. They just take advantage. And England and America is one people. One people. One is the might and the other is the diplomacy. And that's how they operate all the time. America is the force. Now, if the man, I don't know anything about this football and all of that, but you committed in your country where you are living, where they say the crime was committed, that is not a crime.
Exactly.
You didn't do anything in America. How come? On what basis? Just because you are advantageous and take advantage of people?
You know what that's like? The situation with Chuck Blazer, who's American and was found guilty of these crimes. Imagine you have a criminal in Trinidad, right? Who the government catches.
Yes.
And they hold in him, who commits a whole set of crimes in Trinidad. And the government of Trinidad says, all right, this criminal who's wreaked havoc in our country, we will set him free in exchange for some foreigner who has nothing to do with Trinidad at all. That's how ridiculous it is.
It's just that they are bullies, and it's plainly showing now. But I want to express a little too on our crime situation here.
Yes.
I have heard it said in another frequency that elections are won on crime. I personally feel that elections are won more on when you have corruption. Corruption is where mostly elections are won. But it is clear that people are out there happy and counting and salivating. Kill more, kill more, kill.
Yeah, hoping that the murder rate goes up.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? This is what is going on in this country. People are just urging that crime should go on so that they would gain points and they would gain something. Where are we as a people, as human beings, for crying out loud? Where are we? Thank you, my dear brother.
Thank you so much. So tomorrow, the World Cup, and I understand it's been, I don't want to advertise for anyone, but the games are on CNC3. And the first game is Qatar versus Ecuador. That's at 12 noon tomorrow. Then, of course, to look out for, Senegal versus Holland is 12 noon on Monday. England also play Iran at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. You have Cameroon playing Switzerland on Thursday morning. That's 6 o'clock in the morning. Brazil plays Serbia at 3. Now, let me tell you something. The most important game for me in the group stage is going to be held on, where is it? I think it's the 2nd of December. Right. December the 2nd at 11 a.m. That's Friday, 11 a.m. Ghana versus Uruguay. Why is that game so important? Well, 12 years ago, Ghana and Uruguay were tied in the quarterfinal. A ball was fired into the goal, and this player, this Uruguayan, Luis Suarez, stopped the ball with his hand. Of course, he was sent off, given a red card. He was banned for one game. In my opinion, he should have been banned for at least a year, based on the magnitude of what he did deliberately. Put up his hand to stop, and this was around the 90th minute. Now, a penalty was given, of course, and under all the pressure, Asamoah Gyan, he missed the penalty. That would have been the first time an African nation would have made the top 4 for the semifinals. That would have been the first time ever. I mean, the 90th minute, Luis Suarez stops the ball with his hand from going in the goal. That will be a grudge match. Because those 12 years from then to now have been painful. And again, look at how easily he got away. But this is also the first time where there are 5 African nations. There are 5 spots for African nations in the World Cup. This is, and think about this, this is the first time ever that all African teams in the World Cup have African coaches. First time ever. A lot of times the African teams would have European coaches, some of them. But this is the first time all 5 African teams, Senegal, Ghana, Cameroon, Tunisia, Morocco, all 5 countries have African coaches. Caller, good morning.
Assalamu alaikum. Can I still in Hakeem Mohammed?
Walaikum salam.
Yeah. I don't want to go into Jack Warner's business because I know that is Europe.
Yeah.
That is how they think. When I get for their mind, I can write a book on the mind of the European. All of them are European. And all of them stick together. And they are watching us all the time. If you look at it,
yeah, they stick it together, watching us, pulling each other down.
Exactly, all the time. The reporters are all over the world. They report it and they give you the news, how they want the news to be given. So I understand that that's going. Jack Warner is a great man. He has done great things. You understand? He got Trinidad to the World Cup. He has done great things for people as a politician also. Like him or not, I didn't like how he put UNC in the power, but he's a great black man. He has done great things for football. You understand? But what I want to, you know what I like? The Africans said that they are coaching their own players. Mm-hmm. I love that. They said that we are doing that. We want to, because if you could come to my country and take my best player and carry them to Europe to play football, I mean that I can do the same job. You understand? For my, all of them are coaching their own people, right? But anyway, I want to go into something this morning. What I want to go into this morning, before I go there, I want to tell you, my sister, you see that young lawyer attorney? When the time comes to stand up against injustice and racism in the courthouse, he will do it. Like so many other black lawyers who have done it in the past. That's whatever. They have no fear for him. But what I'm saying, they must deal with him and reduce any other attorney. When they go to him, that's his living. But anyway, why won't they go into this morning? Since I was a little further growing up, I know Tobagonians, the send, produce, agriculture produce to Trinidad. The best Trinidad is to get is to come from Tobago. You understand? But now I'm seeing something happening in Tobago. Listen, because I know the news here, a guy, not even a member of the government. Some farmer fella say he want to go to Tobago to teach Tobagonians about farming. When you think about that, you have some young Tobagonians in Tobago who are experimenting on all the raw or all the vegetables that they have. They're making everything out of it. They're making wine, they're making cake, they're making doubles. You understand? Out of it. But it's a psychology that's used on us. They want us to believe that we can't do nothing. The other day, in Trinidad, they say they just feed us, you know. You understand? And he's saying that he wants to go there to assist the Begonians. I have seen and I've been following under the Denison administration in Tobago the amount of produce that the farmers they are doing. Young fellas, that schoolboy who was producing lettuce and supplying the sun, those guest houses and these places in Tobago. Under the PNM rain, they were doing that there. There's social farming, women doing great farming. Goat, should I little visit Tobago and buy goat, boatload banner a goat are going to Trinidad. And he said he has spoken to Denison, and Denison, you understand, he has to go to meet him to deal with agriculture. You could think about that. There's a psychology. Is the land they are going after? That is what they are coming after. And when they talk about it, there are some ignorant people talking about race. You have to talk race because race is they introduce race. And when he gets, I want to ask him the question whether he is one of the person also the financiers during the election, because as soon as they got into the election, the first thing he did was to give title to those people, you understand, with the temple, you understand, give them title to it, and then he come and he give $54 million contract to an Indian from Trinidad to come across there, and they have some controversy about the N-word that he used to some reporter. He said that he is going to look into it. Up to now we hear nothing about it, and that remind me of the doctor who said all the racial slur against African people, and the Tobagonian lawyer who said they can't do him nothing. He self went and represented him, and up to now 3 times they put it over, they said they finish the investigation, but it will never be completed, you understand? That is how the African country, we are sleeping, and I hope that they doesn't understand Tobagonians could do their own farming and produce food to mind itself and make money, and don't get caught in this wicked and racist people are talking about. Brother David, I will go there and reach out. Before I go, I want to tell you, sister, so tomorrow at 10 o'clock, the history. It's on TDT. What do you call it again? The Emancipation Support Committee of the African History Quiz. The quiz is tomorrow from 10 o'clock. I think it's the final. You understand? On TDT. Brother David, have a good one and reach home safe.
Thank you, sir. Caller, good morning.
Blessed morning, Brother David.
Yes, sir.
Brother David, I know all the international crimes about the FIFA and Jacona, but when you're in that high circle, you as a black man, you had to be breaking left, right, and center.
After breaking and dancing.
Well, right in Trinidad and Tobago.
Call it buck dancing.
What happened in Trinidad and Tobago now? They weren't treated right. It had games after the national footballers playing the oval. I had testified to that. They were getting a box of chicken and chips and a coke, and the whole oval sell out. If you want to showing no money in the pocket. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? Because Ian Clausel, Tom Phillip, Curtis Morel, they were grassroots. I grew up with them. And when after the game, they tied them at the bottom of the oval there, and all of them get a box of chicken and chips and a coke. If you want to sell out, no money in the pocket. That Mr. Jacona failed to pay the footballers in a manner that they would really dedicate their time and effort for Trinidad and Tobago football. We could have reached for not only one World Cup, we should have 2 or 3 World Cup, even the World Cup in 80. Players again not getting the benefits of what they were doing. Thank you very much, Brother David.
All right, thank you. And I hear that. But, you know, most of those issues were resolved, and Trinidad and Tobago football has long evolved from those days. And I mean, when I was with the team for the last round of World Cup qualification matches, there was win, loss, and draw. But basically, if a team won, and we won about, I don't know, maybe about 3 or 4 games on that level, the players would receive $3,500 US. That's like $20,000 a game. Now, this is the last stage of World Cup qualifiers. A draw would have been $2,250 US, and a loss would have been just $1,000 US. So, and there were 10 games in the last round. Sort of 10 games played over like a year period. Let's say we won about 2 of them. That would have been $3,000. That would have been $20,000 a piece. We would have drawn about 4 of them. That would have been $2,200 US a piece. And then we would have lost in that last stage. I'm talking about 2010. We would have lost about the remainder, which would have been $1,000 US a piece. So long gone are those days about box of chicken and all of that. The team stay in the best hotels. This is up to the end of Jack Warner's tenure at least, at the best food, etc., etc. All right, this is where I have to leave it. I remember Black History Month, Kwame Ture Center, Saturday mornings 10 for the youth, and Sunday mornings 11 o'clock. Stay tuned to the Street 919 FM. Assalamu alaikum.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
Want to furnish your home in style? Stylus Furniture Mixed is possible. Shop using our affordable layaway options to purchase any of our modern sectionals, dining, living room, or bedroom sets, and receive a dinner voucher for 2 at Atelier's Restaurant and Lounge. For further information, contact us at